Rebel News, we had a partner, Hamish Marshall, great guy, and he became the campaign manager for Andrew Scheer. So Andrew Scheer came by the office. It was super friendly. Hamish was there. We were all friends. And then I made the mistake of asking Andrew Scheer about immigration, and he dodged it. But he was there in person, so he couldn't hang up. And I asked him 4 more times, and that was the last Andrew Scheer ever spoke to Rebel News. And I wasn't mean. I just said, do you have anything to say about the quantity of immigration? And do you have anything to say about the nature of that quantity? Oh my God, those were like the third rail. It was like I was asking him to touch an electric wire or something.
Yeah.
David, why has it suddenly become, I don't know, possible to talk about immigration, whereas a year ago that wasn't true?
I think because Canadians have started to realize that it's okay to let people in the political class understand that you're not racist and you're not actually even against immigration. You're against open fraud.
Yeah.
I think the degree and the scale of the fraud in our immigration policies and our asylum policies, when you see 6 guys that have been extorting people and destroying the Sikh community, targeting these young Sikh boys to join criminal gangs, violating the pact of the Canadian Immigration Social Pact, the Civil Pact, and when they're caught and they're discovered to have been liars that should have had no place in this country, and the people that are the victims of those crimes are all Sikh people in the Sikh community. And these clowns get caught, arrested, arraigned, and what happens? They say, we want to claim asylum, and they completely defraud the system again. And as more and more people see this, they start to realize, this has nothing to do with whether you support immigration or not. This has to do with whether you support people that are openly defying what Canada stands for, all of our values, the security of the country. And the number one communities that are being destroyed by this open, violent, easily manipulated cartel and criminal syndicate dominated defrauding of the system are the minority communities that are new first generation immigrants and their kids, right? So I think what's happened is reality is starting to mug this question in a way that's allowing people not only to feel like they can raise it, but to actually go further than that and say, I've absolutely had it with this, right? People coming in openly defrauding a healthcare system and education system that's been letting me and my family down for the last few years because there's too many kids that can't speak English. You've got classroom sizes that are blowing up. You've got hospital wait times that are extraordinary. And you've got people now that, the recent one where they've got this guy that did the most sadistic things. They've caught him and they found out that the guy is now using Canadian benefits in healthcare in spite of the fact that he's a known terrorist. I mean, you can't, these things used to be the subject of like Babylon Bee, irony or sarcasm, right? And it's actually Canada's current system is so broken that you can't even make up the headlines. It's not even dark comedy anymore, right? And so I think, Ezra, it's reached a point where, as with so many of these things, something had to break and now it's broken. So you've got billions of dollars the country doesn't have that actual citizens and their kids have to pay back now for generations to fund an open defrauding of the system by people that are intentionally defrauding it using criminal and terrorist syndicates to do so. This has been known for years by people in the know. The fact that it hasn't been dealt with seriously by the government is a break in the trust people have with the government. People in CSIS have been warning about this. People that watch these things from a security perspective have been warning about it. It's people on the street that are sort of realizing just how bad it's gotten as they try and get basic public services and seeing they can't get them anymore. I think it's now just kind of an open conversation. And I'm proud of the Premier that she's putting it on the table and raising it, something that's normally the domain of the federal government. She's saying we've had it here in Alberta and we've got to address it. And it's moves like that by her, by the way, that infuriate the so-called elites out east that are actually have the best chance of maintaining Alberta as an autonomous province within a unified Canada. Without her making moves like that, this would start to break, because people just had it with the complete mismanagement of the country by this stay-at-home bureaucracy that's now, did you see this, now 80% more expensive than it was a decade ago? Yeah. I posted something on this. Do you know how long, do you know the performance of the CRA, which is one of the very few departments that the Auditor General can audit against a set of measured metrics? They are unable to answer a phone call within 15 minutes 83% of the time. Average time that you spend on the phone waiting for somebody in the CRA to answer that call is 31 minutes. Then when they do answer it, this is the kicker. So if you get lucky, if you're in the 17% of Canadians that can actually get your call answered and they answer your question, their error rate is 83%. In other words, 83% of the time they get the answer they're supposed to give you wrong. Now let's step back for a second. It's 80% more expensive to have people not answer the phone 80% of the time. And when they do answer it, they get it wrong 80% of the time. I mean, this is a postcard. This is a poster for AI taking over the federal government, firing 40 to 50% of these people that are totally incapable. And then the kicker is you see that they are absolutely outraged at the idea that they have to show up in person at work 4 days a week. Again, you can't make this stuff up. This used to be the stuff of comedy.
In a way, they're lucky that they don't get their phone calls. If you're waiting and you hang up in frustration,
right.
you just saved yourself a lot of money, sir.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You don't want to win this lottery.
Right. You take your chances.
Do you know what obese, sclerotic bureaucracy actually deign to pick up the phone on one of the days they're at work? That's when the nightmare starts. So yeah, I think Canadians are feeling more and more confident that they can address these issues from a point of principle. Ezra, you and I grew up in neighborhoods in Alberta. I played a lot of soccer. I ended up playing soccer at the university. The majority of the guys I played with, we were all first generation Canadians. Our dads had immigrated our dad's parents had immigrated from somewhere else, right? Everybody felt lucky to be there. Everybody, my dad sponsored a Bangladeshi doctor and his family through the church, right? And when you came in, you worked hard on these things. Your parents expect you to get great grades and stuff. There was none of this defrauding the system. There was none of this magnet of benefits being offered to people. People came with a lot of risk, and they had to make it. And they relied on each other. They relied on their ethnic communities, their families, et cetera, to put it together and make it. Nobody was against immigration. Everybody was an immigrant. In the communities I grew up in, people were working really hard as immigrants. What people are offended by, especially people that are immigrants, is when people defraud a system and they abuse it and they do wrong. And that's a universal proposition.
And in Toronto, when thousands march death to Israel, very thinly veiled death to the Jews, that's part of it too. That's a lot of what it is for me. There's places in Toronto, which used to be quite a Jewish city, 200,000 Jews here. Those 200,000 Jews are under siege. Jewish schools are being shot at. There's this one not far from my house. The same school's been shot at 3 times. Another synagogue not far from my house, 10 times has been vandalized. Mm-hmm. And I know those aren't what sometimes are called old stock Canadians. I know it's not old stock Canadians doing it.
Sir, Ezra,
I'm just... Canadians. Those are people that have decided they hate what Canada stands for. They hate a pluralist, open democracy. And the crazy thing is our federal government has decided in their wisdom to pay people to come here to hate us.
Yeah.
And that's what people are against.
Well, and that plays out in the public sentiment. So like in the last 30 years, immigration sentiment has shifted twice and quite dramatically. The first was very pro-immigration, and now very recently it's anti-immigration, and that's across all demographics and voting habits.
Yeah.
So, and to Premier Smith's credit, she has directly engaged Albertans on this issue. She's saying, we're recognizing the problem. We're hearing from you. There's a problem. She engaged
Yeah.
Albertans on the Alberta Next panel, which is, I think, unique within Confederation to have a premier do that. But Environics, I think it was September 2025, so not all that long ago, pretty recent polling data. I imagine opinions have hardened substantially since then. But it's it's 60% of Canadians, and that's NDP voters too, that's Liberal voters too, say our country accepts too many immigrants. And then when you drill down on that, the number one concern is the one that Ezra just brought up, and it's cultural integration, that they're not taking in Western and Canadian values. After that, the economics fall into place that people say, is driving up housing costs and making healthcare just completely clogged up. But the number one issue is a values issue. And it doesn't matter if you're a conservative voter. It doesn't matter if you are an NDP voter. And so I think, as Andrew Breitbart popularized, although I don't know if he's the first person to say it, that politics is downstream of culture. And I think the political sentiment is starting to follow the culture on this.
I think you're absolutely right. You know what they found in the United States when they ran very similar numbers, is that the one cohort, when they ran the crosstabs, the one cohort that was most concerned about illegal immigration was recent immigrants.
Oh, we see this in the Lower Mainland out of the Chinese community all the time. They're the ones producing at the Conservative Party conventions the end to birthright citizenship policies.
That's right.
They're the ones trying to get that onto the floor because they're saying our local hospital has become a hub for anchor babies from CCP oligarchs' kids, and this isn't how it's supposed to be.
It's the Sikh moms that hate the Khalistani terror network.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's the Chinese moms that hate the triads, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the thing that I think has happened with our media. There's been this attempt to try and say that anything is racist, sexist, or anti-gay, right? I mean, that's kind of the basic mantra of the left all the time when they confront issues that challenge their sort of cultural dominance on a particular framing. They want to call it out. So, everybody that's opposed to anything the left thinks is Hitler, right? That's their shtick. But I think what's happened with immigration is that the people that are bearing the brunt of this completely failed policy this past decade are the immigrant communities that came here for the hope of what Canada could be. And they're the most distraught at seeing that stolen from them by an immigration policy that doesn't differentiate people that came here in good faith to build their lives and people that are coming here to defraud the country.
Yeah, and I think it, at the end of the day, is just the bigotry of low expectations.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.